Hi everybody, this workout segment is strength and conditioning supersets using some dumbbells. So what I'd like you to do is grab yourself a pair of heavy dumbbells and also a pair of light dumbbells to get through this workout. Okay, a 3 exercise combination for this one, guys. So this will be a really good warm up in particular. We're going to work some gentle burpees using the bench, and then we're going to switch it up and do some fast feet, get that heart rate up, and then we're going to finish the set off with some push-ups using the bench. Starting with the gentle bench burpee, you can see that I'm stepping into it rather than jumping into it, and then I'm also avoiding the jump at the top as well. I am going all the way down, getting that full push-up in. So again, just really circulating the blood and just getting the body warmed up with this particular exercise. Then we're going to switch it up and work some fast feet. So really focus on keeping your weight on the ball of the foot and just keeping your center of gravity nice and low so you can really pace up these fast feet. And then to finish off, we're going to go into some bench push-ups. So again, keeping a straight line from your shoulder all the way to your ankle so that we're protecting your back and we're keeping your core active. And then working some push-ups from there until the end of the set. Your turn to try this combination.
Like a G6, like a G6. Like a G6, oh fly like a G6.
Combining some rotating chest presses with single arm shoulder presses for this exercise. So lying on your bench with your lower back pinned against the bench, we're going to start with a neutral hand position and our elbows tucked in, and so we're really going to push with our triceps and rotate our hands as we do the press. Now you can see I've got my head lifted, which is going to help support my back and really engage my core through this exercise as well. You're welcome to do it with your head lifted like mine, but if you want to rest your head and just focus on the arms, then you can do that as well. Then we're going to sit up and we're going to work some single arm shoulder presses. Now, very important to keep a neutral spine, and you can see I'm using my opposite hand to hold the bench, and what that does is that helps you with stability and it holds you in position so you can better isolate your shoulders. We're going to hit one side and then switch it up and do the other side as well. Your turn to try this combination.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
Goblet squat and stiff leg deadlift combination for this exercise. So starting with one dumbbell, holding that goblet position where you're holding underneath one of the dumbbell heads and then you're pressing your forearms into the other head. You want to make sure that your legs are at shoulder width, and we want to do this one with feet parallel so we can really emphasize the quadriceps. Now as you drop down, make sure that your elbow touches your mid thigh, and that ensures that your back remains in the right position, and just make sure you're doing it with a neutral back the whole time. Then let's switch over, grab both dumbbells and work some stiff leg deadlifts. Much like a traditional deadlift, except we're keeping the knees soft straight this time round. So as you bend forward, there's only very minimal bend in the knees, and the reason you do that is to protect your back. Now make sure that your tailbone is pushed out and that you're holding your shoulders up in order to keep your spine nice and neutral. And then you can see that I'm opening up with my arms and pulling the shoulders back as I come up. And this is going to further emphasize the posterior. Your turn to try this superset. Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
all night to get lucky. We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky.
Alright, probably the hardest exercise you're going to do today for this one, guys. So we're going to do some dumbbell clean and jerks, and then we're going to combine it with some pulse squats. So starting with the clean and jerks, get into that deadlift starting position, and then I want you to lift all the way up, bring it to your shoulders and go neutral grip, and then from there we're going to push all the way up to a shoulder press. Now when you return it, I want you to return it down nice and slow and make sure you've got ample control over your weight. And then what we'll do is we're going to drop one of the dumbbells, pick up one of them in that goblet hand position, and then work your way down to a squat and just hitting some pulses from here. So you're going to the bottom of the squat and just coming up marginally and just maintaining that particular engagement of the quadriceps throughout this exercise. Your turn to try this combination.
I'm down for you always. 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 You've gotten deep under my skin, and I still feel your power. You changed my voice, you locked it in, and put out any fire. Still with one touch, you got me where you want me, yeah. It's like a rush, the waves that crash inside me, yeah. Kiki, do you love me? Are you riding? Say you never ever leave from beside me, 'cause I want you, and I need you, and I'm down for you always, KB. Do you love me? Are you riding? So you never ever leave from beside me, 'cause I want you, and I need you, and I'm down for you always. You carved it deep into my heart. You're the king of lions, the look of blue and killing smile. You put me more than under, and still with one touch, you got me where you want me, and it's like a rush. The waves that crash inside of your paradise in crime. We are dynamite and blind. We are broken hearts that never mend. The finest form of bad romance. Dynamite and blind. Yeah, we are Kiki, do you love me? Are you riding? Say you never ever leave from beside me, 'cause I want you, and I need you, and I'm down for you always, KB. Do you love me? Are you riding? Say you never ever leave from beside me, 'cause I want you, and I need you, and I'm down for you always. I closed the door, went on my knees, but then to make it harder, you changed your voice, I let you in. Now we are going under. Still with one touch, you got me where you want me.
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
I'm down for you always. 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 You've gotten deep under my skin, and I still feel your power. You changed my voice, you locked it in, and put out any fire. Still with one touch, you got me where you want me, yeah. It's like a rush, the waves that crash inside me, yeah. Kiki, do you love me? Are you riding? Say you never ever leave from beside me, 'cause I want you, and I need you, and I'm down for you always, KB. Do you love me? Are you riding? Say you never ever leave
lateral raise and front raise combination for this superset. Starting with the lateral raise, make sure your knees are slightly bent, your feet are at shoulder width, and your hip is marginally behind you so that your lower back is protected. We're going to go into that lateral lift and we're going to come up all the way to our T-line, making sure that you've got that pronated hand position. Make sure your arms remain soft straight throughout your technique and then return it down with nice control. Then switching it up to some front raises. So keep the dumbbells together and keep your arms soft straight. And this time we're going to lift in front of us until we can see just beneath the dumbbell. And then we're going to drop back slowly. And again, just making sure that you're keeping your hips behind you and that you're keeping a nice neutral spine to protect your back. Your turn to try this superset.
Go shorty, it's your birthday. We gon' party like it's your birthday. We gon' sip Bacardi like it's your birthday. And you know we don't give up, it's not your birthday.
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
Go shorty, it's your birthday. We gon' party like it's your birthday. We gon' sip Bacardi like it's your birthday. And you know we don't give up, it's not your birthday.
great biceps burner for this combination, guys. So we're working some concentration curls and then we're adding some pistol rows to it. Start your concentration curls with one side. Make sure that the back of your arm, your tricep, is rested inside of your leg, and then we're basically just pulling up. Now, the mistake a lot of people make with this is they rest their elbows on top of their thigh. It shouldn't be on top of it. It should be just pressing against it. And this is just to prevent your elbow from moving as you're pulling the curl up. We're going to hit one side and then we're going to hit the other side before changing to your pistol rows. When you do your pistol rows, make sure you start with fairly lengthy legs. Now you're bending forward with your knees bent and a neutral spine. And then we're pulling the rows into our chest fairly rapidly, and we're making sure that we're keeping the elbows tucked in. So as you start to do a bunch of these, you're going to feel those biceps really start to burn up. Your turn to have a go at this superset.
Just gonna stand there and watch me burn. That's alright because I like the way it hurts. Just gonna stand there and hit me right. That's alright because I love the way you lie. I love the way you lie. Just gonna stand there and watch me burn. That's alright because I like the way it hurts. Just gonna stand there and hit me right. That's alright because I love the way you lie. I love the way you lie.
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
like the way it hurts. Just gonna stand there and hit me right. That's alright because I love the way you lie. I love the way you lie.
Hips thruster and calves raise superset for this exercise. So starting with your hips thrusters, make sure you've got the dumbbell sitting at your hips, and then we're going to lift all the way up until you hit a straight line from your knee to your shoulder, and then dropping back down into that rested position. Now as you lift up, you're really squeezing your hamstring and glutes and your lower back, and then trying to put a little pause at the top of it before you get back down into that seated position. We're going to then switch it up and work some calves raises. So standing up with your feet at shoulder width, your spine nice and neutral, we're going to lift all the way up to the ball of the foot, engaging those calves, putting a little pause at the top if we can, and then dropping back down until your feet are nice and flat. Let's have a go at this superset now.
I got no rules, I count it. I got no rules, I count it. I got it, I got no rules, I count it. I got no rules, I count it. I got no rules, I count it.
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset. combining some obliques tilts with some good mornings for this core exercise. So starting with your feet nice and wide and your knees straight for this one, we're going to lift the dumbbell over our head and then we're going to tilt to the side without bending our knees. So you want your obliques to absorb all of the pressure for this one. And then just making sure that it's a movement to the side. So you don't want to push behind you. We don't want to put any pressure on the lower back. Once we do these, let's switch it up and work some good mornings. So all you do is you bring the dumbbell all the way to your upper chest, press it against your chest, and we're going to bend forward with a neutral spine, and you're keeping your knees soft straight throughout. So you're going to feel that pressure running through your back and then also in the hamstrings as well. So you should get a little bit of a hamstring stretch throughout this exercise. Make sure you keep your shoulders pushed back and make sure you've got nice control over your movement. Make sure you don't tuck your tailbone in, because if you do, you're going to put some pressure on your lumbar spine, and we want to try and avoid that for this exercise. Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset. Alright, using our bench and no dumbbells, so purely your body weight for this particular superset, we're going to work some bench push-ups and then we're going to combine them with some triceps dips. So starting with the bench push-ups, just make sure your arms are comfortable, make sure that your spine is nice and neutral and that you're keeping your core line. So you've got to make sure that you've got a straight line from your shoulder all the way to your ankle. We're going to drop nice and deep into these push-ups because they're easier than a prone push-up on the floor because of the elevated hand position. Then we're going to switch it up and work our triceps dips. Now, you want to make sure that with this one, you've got your butt pretty close to your bench so that you're not putting excessive amounts of pressure on your rotator cuffs. And then you want to try and pull down as far as you can. So really try and hit 90 degrees of elbow angle with this one if you can. And then go all the way back up. Now you can see I've got my feet flat on the floor for this one, so you can actually push off your feet a little bit and get some assistance if you need it. Your turn to try this superset.
Making sense.
Well done for getting through your workout today, guys. Let's take a moment to stretch and cool our body back down now. Comment and let us know what you thought of today's workout, and remember to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest workouts.